Hey everyone, Rayo here, and welcome back to Maxing Melee. In this episode, we're going to be taking the new items, the Abyssal Armor Spikes, the Abyssal Scourge, and the Jaws of the Abyss, and putting them to test in an actual, real PvM encounter against the Ambassador, Kerapac, as well as Raksha. If you are new to this series, just to give a quick idea of what it's all about, it is about me starting from not a fully like 0 to hero kind of point, but I basically started off with base tier 90s for the most part and tier 92 trim masterwork, and I wanted to progress all the way to best in slot melee gear and also use it effectively, not just buy the upgrades and call it a day, but actually upgrade over time, learn how to use the upgrades, and be as best as I can with the melee style. It's been quite a journey, and I've learned a lot of new bosses with this. The most recent bosses have been Raksha, solo Kerapac, as well as the Ambassador. With that being said, we have the new upgrades, which are the Abyssal Scourge and the Jaws of the Abyss, and this has been pretty game-changing for Melee, because Melee in the past has been very adrenaline-starved, and this new helmet, I would say, I don't know if it necessarily solves it, but if it doesn't solve it, it's pretty close to solving it. At least it does a very good job at like being a band-aid for that issue. Also with these upgrades, I have posted an initial thoughts, like an initial review kind of video when they were released on Monday, and I took them to the Training Dummies and Wars Retreat with a challenge gem. As I mentioned in that video, it wasn't like rigorous testing, it was literally a one-shot. I bought the items, I went to the Training Dummies, and I just saw how the initial numbers were with the Scourge versus dual Lengs versus using both of them as switches, and then both of them as switches with weapon poison. And I was really surprised by the numbers, but now that I've actually tested it this past week, I have realized how strong the Abyssal Scourge actually is. In this episode, I wanted to actually take you on that journey, show you how effective it is in my experience, and I just want to do a disclaimer. I am no like professional, super great melee PvMer, but with all that being said, the way that this episode is going to work is a little bit different from my previous episodes where I like learn an encounter and just kind of like chop up the whole entire learning process. This is actually just going to be one full take of each boss encounter that I listed. So I'm just going to do a start to finish of Kerapac, a start to finish of Raksha, and a start to finish of the Ambassador. No cuts. You're just going to see it from right when I start, right to when I finish, and then I'm going to kind of give like a review of that encounter, give my thoughts on how it affected that encounter and how it affected my times. That way you can actually see my rotation, and we can take it from there basically. So this is going to be a little bit of a long episode, but it's going to be very, I guess, packed with information, kind of. Not necessarily me teaching, but you'll be able to visually see it. So also with that being said, if you are very good with Melee, or you have any suggestions, or you have any critiques on my rotation or my gameplay, feel free to let me know. I am very open to suggestions. So I'm trying to just improve as much as I can with this class, or as much as I can with this style, and just be as effective as I possibly can. Anyway, I have been babbling on too much. Let's go ahead and get geared up. I'm going to start with Raksha because I've tested this out at Raksha. Then we'll do Kerapac, and then we'll go into ED3 and try it out at the Ambassador. Alright, so as you can see by my aura timer, this isn't my first take. But my first take, I ended up getting a kill, but it wasn't very clean. I didn't think that my first take was going to be very bad like it was, so I wanted to get a cleaner take. That way I could give a proper analysis at the end of this. All right, not the cleanest phase 3, but it will do. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, that P4. I'm still a little, like I said, I'm still a little bit shaky with my weapon switches, my keybinds, and everything. It was going pretty good until the pools. I got a little bit greedy with adrenaline and I used overpower. If I get lucky, I can use overpower, and if I do my abilities in the right rotation, I think that I could build up enough adrenaline to actually have Zerk by the time I finish with the pools. Because what I try and do is I try and gain adrenaline with the pools, and then before I actually do them, I try and get as many hits, like basics, off on Raksha as I can, because with the whip specifically, because it does give the parasites on every single attack, and it gives that extra adrenaline per hit. So I try and just build up adrenaline. That way, by the time I finish with the pools, I can Zerk, I can mutated barge onto Raksha, and sometimes I can phase it before he goes into the bombs. Ever since I started rebinding my keys, it's been a little bit difficult because I mess up my weapon switches a lot, and then I get I'm really late to start the pools a lot of the time. And then sometimes I forget to swap my boots back to the Masterwork boots, so I'm taking a lot of upfront damage. There's a lot of like user error that I'm still trying to get used to. But overall, I would say phases 1 and 2, I am consistently clearing after the first mechanic. I always finish before the bomb on phase 1 for the most part. This is ideal scenarios, like assuming I hit everything right. I can always phase after the tail swipe, and then I can always phase after I think it's called Mind Crush with the little orbs that you click on. So I can always phase after that when I use the Abyssal Scourge. Phase 3, still a little bit of a struggle. Phase 4, it's also a little bit of a struggle, but overall, the bleeds are very strong. All right, so we are going to move on to Kerapac now. So this is going to be pretty challenging because I haven't actually soloed Kerapac since I've gotten the upgrades, and I've only done it in trio, and I also have not done it without ability queuing. And in trios earlier, I was doing that with ability queuing. This is going to be a bit of a challenge. I think it's going to be okay, but it will give me a little bit of a hard time for sure. Oop, messed that up, but that's fine. Oh, need to kind of relax here. There we go. Oh. All right. Oh, phases are rough, but that was much cleaner. Okay. Yo, these stacks are doing work, though. I will say. They're doing quite a bit of work, for sure. Something I definitely noticed right there is how much adrenaline I have. It's pretty huge. Normally, I'm kind of... Sometimes I struggle for adrenaline there. But there's a pretty big difference for sure. All right. Nice, 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 nice. We're in a good spot. Wow. Okay. Ooh, that's not a bad drop. 2 mil. Heck yeah, dude. Awesome. Wow. Okay, so that was about 2 attempts. Not too bad. Not too bad. So I will say it wasn't like phase 3. It kind of trailed off a little bit, but something that I've noticed ever since I got the whip, I've noticed that I've been phasing right after lightning, whereas prior to this, and I also want to mention that this is not on a task at all. I haven't done Kerapac on a Nodon Dragonkin task at all. All that being said, I've noticed that my phases have been very consistent in finishing before he goes back into the mechanics after the lightning walls. I did struggle a lot there in phase 3. My rotation was a lot cleaner, but the thing that I didn't do is I didn't overpower. And I think that's something I'm not taking advantage of, is using overpower, because I've noticed I'm not used to having this much adrenaline with melee. And so a lot of the times I'm noticing that I'm at like 80, 90%, and I could squeeze in an overpower real quick. Let's go ahead and take this to Ambassador and see how it fares there. I haven't done this with the whip yet, but my initial assumption, and from what I hear, it is supposed to be a pretty darn good weapon for the Ambassador, just because of the way the Ambassador encounter works. It's very long phases, so that gives time for the stacks to actually build up and do a lot of damage. This is going to be pretty interesting doing this without ability queuing. I imagine, as I mentioned it with Kerapac, I'm probably going to fail this quite a few times just because I am not used to not ability queuing. It's a challenge so far for sure. Oof. Okay. I mean, I'll take that. That's a pretty good time for really slow switches, I would say. Here, I'm probably just going to keep with Lengs because I have a little bit more burst, I guess. But, I mean, I'm really doing slow. I'm probably going to have to reset the skill anyway. Ooh, all right. Man, okay. So that was a slower kill time for sure. What is my PB on Ambassador? 424. So I mean 506, whatever. So that I would kind of take with a grain of salt because actually I would take this whole video with a grain of salt because there's much better rotations to do for sure. For sure, for sure. I was hindered a lot by not using ability queuing. This is literally my first day ever not using ability queuing in years. And then also just all my switches. I keep messing them up. It's like so much information to process that I just kind of blank out in the middle of an encounter. I just kind of like stay still and I just stare at my screen and I just kind of think, what am I doing? But anyway, babbling on. Something that I did there with the whip was actually, it was getting kind of tough after I did the spinners. So I typically just do 5 spinners and leave the 6th one and just disruption shield the big blast. So this time I was obviously falling behind quite a bit. So I didn't have 100% adrenaline. So I just kind of camped the whip and I let the stacks build up. And so after he phased at about like, I think it's like 500k, that's when he doesn't do the spinners anymore and he spawns the minions. So during that time, I mean, I did a ZGS spec and I kind of just camped whip for the most part and I just let those stacks build up. The reason why I did that is because it's just, like I said, consistent damage and it's really good sustained damage and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't get cleared and I can keep attacking him and just build up to 50. So I basically built up to 50 and I made sure that those 50 stacks stayed because something that always happens is whenever I try and hench, I get dead. I just die instantly. But I had the Vamp Prism Scrimshaw, and I normally do this with a Grimoire. With those procs constantly going in the background, even when I'm protecting from range, mage, whatever he's doing, I'm still passively healing, technically, because of those stacks. And those stacks are doing a pretty chunky heal, or pretty chunky bit of damage. I mean, at 50 stacks, it's doing about 1,500 damage as a base. It gets to do pretty big damage, just consistently chunking away at him. And so when I camp that with a couple of bleeds here and there, swap over to the Masterwork Spear, get a Dismember, get a Tendril, swap back to the Whip, it's just nice, constant healing. It wasn't the fastest time, but I would say mixed with the Scrimshaw and a couple of Soul Split flicks, it's a very safe way of saving food. Like I didn't really use that much food. I mean, I panic ate a little bit when I was kind of messing up here and there. Those bleeds, they do quite a bit of damage and they really give your Scrimshaw and your Soul Split a good amount of healing. So all in all, in that encounter, I think the whip was a massive, massive help. And that's all I have for you today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed seeing the whip in action and not just against a training dummy. I know it wasn't like the cleanest kills or the fastest kills, but I will just say my experience with the whip has just been great. My kill times have been slower just because of getting used to adding it into the rotation and not necessarily using it as best as possible. I'm still trying to get the hang of it. And then also my keybinds. But once I get that stuff down, I can almost guarantee that my kill times are going to go down or at least be way more consistent to my PRs or closer to my PRs for each of those bosses. I've kind of suffered some average time loss, but it's just a matter of getting used to my new situation. So anyways, guys, if you like this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And if you'd like to see any guides or item reviews like I've done for these items or just any walkthroughs or just really anything, drop a comment down below and let me know what you're interested in seeing. And I will do my best to cover it or accommodate it at the very least. But thanks so much for watching. I'm Rayo, and I'll see you next time. Take care.